So I want to get your opinion. So Sports Illustrated rated the top 20 best wrestlers of all time. I think this is most famous, best, however you want to say it. It was best top wrestlers of all time. And Rowdy, I'll just start from 13. This is when the names start to get, I think, that most people know him. Number 13, Roddy Piper. Number 12, Kurt Angle. I was kind of surprised to see him up that high. And like when you get against, but I mean, I was happy. That's cool. Sometimes you live in Pittsburgh and you don't know if everyone else likes Kurt Angle as much as you do.
No, Kurt's one of them. Kurt is known as this. Kurt is widely recognized by most people, wrestlers, his peers, and fans. Nobody took to learning pro wrestling quicker than him and got to the level that he did. Like, because I mean, obviously we know Kurt was a tremendous gold medal Olympic amateur wrestler.
Yeah.
And then he learned pro wrestling, debuted in learned pro wrestling relatively quickly learns, okay, the finish is predetermined. You don't have to take somebody to the ground he debuts in WWE, I think in November of 99. And like 11 months later, he was world champion. And then he continued to rise. And then not only that, and the things that he could do in the ring in terms of athleticism and toughness, but then they started to get to show the comedy side of him, and he could be funny. And there's a whole other life of his career of like just hilarious clips that live on forever of like interactions he had, and just he's funny. I mean, so no, Kurt definitely. I'm at 12. I have no problem with him being on at number 12.
Number 11, Macho Man Randy Savage. I thought he might have been higher on the list just because he's such a character.
I think, unfortunately, Macho Man, who passed away via car accident tragically 15, 16 years ago. I think the only reason I think he's not higher, unfortunately, is because he left the WWE in 1994. He wasn't really wrestling anymore. They were using him as in an announcer kind of spot, which from what I heard, he didn't love. So he left. He goes to WCW, and he was there from 94 till WCW until like 2000. He never got brought for the remainder of the time that he was alive. He never got brought back to WWE TV. It's still one of those forever unknowns of like, did Vince still hold a grudge? Like what? Why? And then unfortunately he passed away. And then they inducted him in the Hall of Fame a few years later after he unfortunately has already passed, so he couldn't even be there to be on stage to accept the induction. So I think because he wasn't kept prominent by the WWE, by having to make appearances on TV or anything like that, I think unfortunately every year that the fans get older or newer, they only know of Macho Man from watching older tapes, if that makes sense. So I think that's probably the only reason I could think, because when he was a performer, he was top notch.
Number 10, Bruno Sammartino. And that's another one that kind of surprised me just because, I've been in Pittsburgh since college, raised my family here. And I mean, I know him, everybody talks about Bruno Sammartino here, but to be a top 10 of all time, according to Sports Illustrated in wrestling, that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, he was champion for years. And then whatever the record is, you could look it up, that he sold out the Garden however many times and all those years. I mean, yeah, it was a different time. Again, it was still wrestling was still regional. There, it wasn't national. It was before cable. So, and again, just because he's from a different era, that's probably why he's not higher. But again, 10 is still, very, very
respectable.
Respectable.
Number 9, Bret Hart.
Often considered one of the best in ring. He's kind of like he was before Kurt Angle. He's kind of, a lot of people say Kurt and Bret would have been a great dream match. Had Bret not gotten Bret got injured in the ring in 99, and then I think he had a stroke afterward. So his full-time career got unfortunately cut short. But yeah, he's arguably by many people one of the best bell-to-bell wrestlers ever. One of them, top ones.
Number 8, Shawn Michaels.
Again, one of the best bell-to-bell performers, but where Bret was a great bell-to-bell performer, but Bret wasn't necessarily the top talker, the top promo. Shawn had a big personality, and he could also talk in the building. So when wrestling made a transition from the 80s and early 90s of what was big guys, and they transitioned them to more average 6-foot size guys, Shawn and Bret were the leaders of that time for the business.
Number 7, Triple H.
Yeah. Again, a guy that, great bell to bell, great mind. And he's the one you asked me. He's the one, Dave, I don't know if you know this, but Triple H is the one who is in control. He's the chief, the actual title, chief content. He's the one that runs all the creative now of day to day of WWE today. So he's running all that. He's putting the match together. He's leading the team of who's going to be the champion. He's a leader behind the scenes.
Number 6, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And I mean, his character, you see him, you know him. I think even if you don't watch wrestling, you've seen him, you've heard of him. Maybe one of the great characters in wrestling. Would you agree with that?
Arguably one of the greatest characters. I mean, when he debuts in November of 1990, it's like, okay, how long can this guy who is supposed to be kind of like dead, like a walking zombie, like how long could this gimmick actually last? And funny enough, he made it last, 30 plus years. He had an incredible run of 21 years of never losing at WrestleMania. And he works behind the scenes. He's over WWE or TKO that owns WWE. TKO also now owns the top wrestling promotion in Mexico called AAA. The Undertaker is booking. He's running that. He's doing what Triple H is doing for WWE. He's doing that there, booking the matches. Cheap plug. The Undertaker, if you can believe this or not, he protected his character for all those years. For all, he very rarely did media and interviews. He really protected the character. If you see him in the airport, he'd be wearing all black. I mean, he really protected the character. Once he retired, he's opened up. He's done interviews. Well, now he has a podcast. It's called 6 Feet Under, and that podcast, you can hear it on WWE Radio every single week.
I love it. All right, so now we're moving into these are the top 5 wrestlers of all time according to Sports Illustrated. Number 5, Roman Reigns.
He's the top guy today. He's the WWE champion today. He's part of the legendary Samoan family, Samoan dynasty. So everything from, his father was one half the Wild Samoans. Yokozuna was a cousin of his. The Rock is a cousin of his. Long Samoan family lineage, and he's the top guy right now.
Number 4, John Cena.
Yeah,
so he's a movie star.
Yeah, John's done everything. John has had. It's incredible when you realize how long he was on top. In terms of being a top guy. I mean, it's and that he was a workhorse. He would work every night. He made every town. And this is when WWE's business, had some ups and downs over the last 25 years, and he was always, reliable. So yeah, I mean, obviously, and then he's transitioned to I don't know how many things he's a spokesperson for, but you could see him or hear him in so many commercials. It's unbelievable because he's John Cena. He's
one of the top personalities, period.
Yes,
out there,
and really funny too. Really, like if you see him in Hollywood and he's doing some of these comedy, he's really funny.
All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and put the top 3 on the board, and I think this is where I want to see, because I was a little surprised by who's 1, who's 2, who's 3. Here they are. This is according to Sports Illustrated, the top 3 wrestlers of all time. Here they are. Number 3, The Rock. Number 2, Hulk Hogan. Number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Justin Labar, if you were putting that list together, would you keep that the same or would you change it?
I definitely keep 1 and 2 as Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan. Stone Cold to me is, to me, he's my number 1. I think the drawing power that he had at the time that it was, he wasn't the top guy for as many years like John Cena was. And again, part of that is because Steve fell to injury, and so that kind of shortened things up for him. But I mean, it was just like, there was Hulkamania in the 80s, and then Stone Cold had his run of the Attitude Era. It's just, obviously Hulk Hogan had to do Hulk Hogan for Stone Cold to do Stone Cold, and if not for Hogan, the business doesn't grow, and it probably doesn't get to the level in the late 90s for Stone Cold to put in the work and flourish. So certainly, you have to have Hogan and give respect to Hogan. But yeah, I put Stone Cold as number 1. The name that you didn't give me, so it must have been greater than 13. Was Ric Flair? I didn't see Ric Flair.
I don't know that he was in the top 20. Andre the Giant was number 16. I was a little surprised he was down that far because he's pretty famous. Hang on, I'll tell you if top 20. Now you got me here. Top wrestlers of all time. Here's the Sports Illustrated story. Number 20 is Becky Lynch. She was only female. 19, Mick Foley. 18, Chris Jericho. 17, CM Punk. You know what? Ric Flair might have been on here. 16. Did I miss one? 17, 16 was Andre the Giant. 15, Randy Orton. Oh, 14, Edge. Yeah, so Ric Flair's not in their top 20.
Interesting.
It is surprising. You would have him in your top 20?
Well, I mean, yeah, again, how I say like Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart, how they're some of the best bell-to-bell wrestlers. I mean, most of them would say Rick was the greatest bell-to-bell. And I mean, the only thing I can say why Rick wouldn't be there is because you had when WWE and Hulk Hogan and WWF were exploding in the 80s, Rick wasn't Rick was wrestling for the competitor. He was wrestling for the NWA, which was an alliance of a bunch of the regional promotions. And so he didn't have necessarily the same level of exposure of I guess national exposure as like Hogan did. So I guess maybe that's why. But I mean, Ric Flair's often regarded. I mean,
I was disappointed that my guy. So I'm from Memphis, and when I was on the radio in Memphis, I had Jerry the King Lawler on my show many times. This is me and my sister Charity with him when he was running for mayor of Memphis. If you notice, he has vote Lawler for mayor. Yeah. He came in third in '99. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but he wasn't in the top 20. And I think he was out, when regional wrestling was the thing too. But he's had a career. He's been an announcer, right, for WWE for a long time.
I was going to say he's not anymore, but he. So it depends on what your age and generation is. Obviously, he was huge. Obviously, in Memphis,
80s
and the
90s,
80s, and then he would be your color commentator for TV through the rise of Stone Cold and the rise of Kurt Angle. So it's funny to some people, they obviously remember him fondly as a tough guy in the ring, but then to a whole other generation, he's part of their soundtrack of these memorable moments with the next generation of wrestlers, because he was so funny on commentary with the quips that he would have. So he's he's.
Did you ever meet Jerry Lawler?
Yeah. Actually, he was one of the first guests that we ever had on Chair Shot Reality back probably again 2010, 2011.
I had him come in a few times. He would sit in and just co-host the morning show with me on a country music station in Memphis, Tennessee when I was down there. I was on a Froggy. You can see the T-shirt there.
That's huge.
He was a great guy. When he did the movie with Jim Carrey in the 90s, Man on the Moon, he came in after that, and we talked all about that. But great guy. I just looked him up. He said that he lives in Memphis now, but he had a stroke last year again, and he's kind of in poor health in his 70s.
Yeah, that's sad to hear. He actually, this is, it's sad to hear that he had a, I don't know if you knew this. I don't remember the year. It was somewhere like at least.
Yeah, he had like a stroke like during the match or something like that.
Yeah, like he was in the ring. It was at least 10 years ago, I think. He was in the ring. He got, because he's still a Cajun, because he was in such great shape. He still was in good shape, and he still, when he wasn't doing the broadcasting on a Monday for WWE, he'd still go and work independent shows and still wrestle. Again, he was in pretty decent shape. So occasionally they'd have him wrestle for like a one-off or something, in WWE, and he was in the ring, did a match, and then he went back to the commentary table at ringside. And yeah, he had I think it was a heart attack,
like a brain bleed, or something.
Like, yeah, it was scary because he was there at the commentary table, dealing with that, and so they're trying, and they're live on TV, they're live on Monday Night Raw, so they were having to, get EMTs to get him while this live show's going on in front of 10,000 people in the arena. It was crazy scary.
Well, there's my brush with, so I obviously knew Jerry Lawler in Memphis, and then I've had Kurt Angle on here in Pittsburgh. But so would you say, in your time, being in wrestling and touring some and seeing other markets, like you said, where is wrestling the hottest in the United? What are the best markets, and is Pittsburgh up there with them?
Pittsburgh's got a lot of history. I wouldn't put it in the same conversation. I think
two of the top 20 wrestlers are from here. That's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, no, there's some great history and some great breeding ground. Most of the time when you say, I think a lot of people would say Chicago. Chicago is often widely regarded as the loudest and best audience. The one arena there, not the United Center that everybody knows from like the Michael Jordan days, but there's another arena that's in the city. It's just a little more north. A lot of your wrestlers will say that's their favorite arena in terms of the way the sound was and how loud it was and the fans. I've been to that venue and I can attest to that. Chicago's talked about. Philadelphia is known very much for having, Philadelphia and then New York, that they're very known for having.
So the northern markets, you just named three. I mean, Chicago, Philly, and New York. See, I always thought growing up in the South that's where the wrestling was at. But
when it was more territories, I think that's true. That there was a strong presence in the South. I mean, it's not to say there's not still good cities in the South, but like in terms of national TV, I think most people, if they were to rattle off the top 3 cities that you're going to hear the loudest crowds in the U.S., it's going to be in some order: Chicago, Philadelphia, New York. And then they go international, and the international fans are a blast because they might not get to see like a WWE as often. Maybe only once a year, once every few years, and so they really get you get like the soccer chants going. They get real crazy and animated. So that's a lot of fun. WWE's doing more events internationally than they ever have, more televised events, I should say. So that's been a lot of fun to watch and see. But yeah, in the U.S., I'd say Chicago, Philly, New York, and Chicago is number 1, and then you can argue New York or Philly.